Hey, everybody, it's Christine Parakis, and we are here with the Career Invincibility Show. And I cannot tell you, I mean, this is a new show, and I've gone straight to the top of the heap to pick the very best people to come and share their wisdom and insights. And I just cannot tell you how excited I am to introduce my first guest here today. Adam FARFAN is the most amazing a financial entrepreneur, an investor, and has committed himself in a way to lifting not just himself and his own family, but everyone he comes across into a better life. Adam's passion is to lead others to transform themselves into remarkably successful leaders, and he does that first and foremost by his own example. I'm so honored to call him my friend, to know him personally, and to be mentored by him in a number of ways. So I couldn't wait to get him on this show to be able to talk to us today about what we need to become invincible in our lives. So Adam, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Christine, thank you so much for doing this. I'm very excited. I've been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks, and it's a great treat to be able to talk to your audience. So thanks so much for the time.
Oh, I can't wait. And, listen, everybody, we're going to get Adam to come back next week. So this is going to be just part one of our two-part installment with Adam FARFAN. So let's get going.
Great.
So tell us a little bit about your journey. I know it's had its share of zigs and zags, but you're so successful now, people will forget that it wasn't always easy.
Yeah, I would actually tell you that I've been, my whole life, I really had the drive to just want to be somebody. I saw how hard my parents worked when I was a kid. My parents' financial situation was always like a roller coaster, and I got to see a little bit of the great things. I got to see a little bit of what happens when money is gone, and when you're my father was always an entrepreneur. And, that says a lot of things to a lot of different people, right? A lot of times, most of the time, entrepreneurs are trying to get things going and trying to go ahead and be successful. Or a lot of times, once you get it and you understand it, it can go ahead and give you a whole, sort of a whole new world of experiences and things like that. And I pretty much grew up. I grew up Mormon when I came to the U.S. And there was actually a guy in my church that was actually, somewhat of a successful guy. I'll never forget this. I would actually admire this guy from far away. And he was just a very nice guy. This guy was, he was just charismatic. He was a great family man. And I could tell the fact that he was successful. It was interesting because this guy one day, he ended up actually going to my parents' house, and he wasn't there to talk to my parents about church stuff. He was there talking to my parents about financial services. And Christine, to be honest with you, at that time I was actually 16 years old. Most of the stuff they were talking about obviously went over my head. But I'll never forget this feeling that it was almost like something spoke to me. It's when he was actually telling my dad that my dad could also do what he was doing. He was part of the highest paid profession in the world, and all my dad had to do is get a simple license. Christine, my ears went up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, does that mean I never have to go to school ever?" And next Sunday I went up to him and I just said, "Hey, I want you to teach me." He didn't want to. He's like, "You're too young. I don't need anybody to go to hell." I just said, "Listen, I'll do whatever it is that it takes to go ahead and do it. I just want to learn from you." He ended up letting me go to his house all the time, and I would actually walk a mile or two every single day after school, and I would get picked up by my mom. And this is actually how I got started in financial services. And I'm so glad that it happened. I can't even see myself, or I wouldn't even know what to do with myself if I don't know what my life would have become if I wouldn't have learned about all this stuff.
Well, I have no doubt you would have been successful, probably at something else, maybe not making as much money as you do. And, at the same time, I mean, here's a young guy with no education, no ideas, no money, nothing that would suggest you could step right into the highest paid profession.
Yep.
So what is it that it takes, or that you could tell yourself that would, despite the odds, against all odds, you would go for it and grab for that?
What I would tell you, the fact you have to become good at identifying windows, identifying opportunities, and for me, I always felt like this industry not only was a high paid profession, but at the same time, I always saw how much what an impact you can make in people's lives. And I'll never forget, I was actually at an event with Larry King, I think a few months ago. I think it was probably sometime last year, and I was actually having a conversation with a couple of people, and he actually whispered in my ear, and it's like, "Hey, a lot of that stuff is actually something it reminds me of an interview that I did with Bill Gates years ago," and we started talking about it, and he had an interview with Bill Gates a few years ago, and he says, they were talking about my, and it was funny because Bill Gates at that time, he's like, you know what, I was at the perfect place, I was at the right place at the right time, but if I wouldn't have taken massive immediate action, Microsoft would not cease to exist today. And I guess that's one thing that that people ought to do more of is when they see an opportunity, when they see something that can go ahead and bring big value of their lives, whether they know it or not, is to simply take that opportunity and as my mentor would say, just go make a mess and we'll help you clean it up later. So
Wow, I love that. And isn't that the thing, right? As I've heard you say it before, and it's so inspiring that the difference between, a Bill Gates and someone else is massive action, right?
yep.
Because we're all in the right place at the right time for something. We just may not know what it is. And even today, in the current global pandemic that we're all, under quarantine around, half the world is in quarantine right now, that there's still massive action that can be taken. Wouldn't
Yep,
you agree?
100%. 100%. I mean, there's so many things that you're able to do. I mean, look at all the incredible companies that were actually born, between 2008, 2010, from last time's recession, right? Twitter arrived, Airbnb came out, right? There's all these incredible businesses that simply came out of that, came out of that. So it really is true that when things like what's going on right now happen, for people that actually see it, there's a lot of opportunity out there. I was just on a phone call last night with a lot of incredible people. And Joseph Best was actually the attorney of Elon Musk and guys like Mark Cuban, and we were talking about all kinds of different opportunities that are out there. And the reality of it is the fact that right now there's so much to do. And it's not even about being just creative with it. It's the fact that you have to, that's really what a business is, though, right? You find a problem, you create a solution, you make money doing it. And I would tell you right now, there's a million problems that you can solve, right? Which means there's a lot of opportunity out there to be able to go ahead and be successful at.
Well, that's the thing. And you were talking about these companies that got off the ground during the last recession, which is, last time most of us can remember that, anybody listening. And I started an 8-figure business that time during that period myself. And I thought, yeah, wait a minute, what was the difference for me in that situation is that it was the right time for that business, and there was nothing that was going to stop us, me and my partner. And so it's when you can fix on something and then have no naysayers be able to get past the armor of that purpose, that fixation. I mean, what do you think that is the difference, that those who actually will or do take advantage of this opportunity and those who won't?
I think what it just comes back down to it is just what you let into your mind. Your mind, what what happens between your two ears and behind your two eyes is literally everything. And right now, the world is really run by a lot of scarcity. The world is run. People are naturally addicted to bad news, and it's so crazy because of the fact that there's so many industries, that make billions of dollars through fear. And I would tell you the fact that you can either see it. I've always known one thing is the fact that people are brainwashed. That's my mentor would say. People are going to be brainwashed into something. What you have to figure out is if you want to be the brainwashed or you want to be the brainwasher. And if you can brainwash people into thinking better, brainwash people into living better lives, brainwash people into knowing the fact that this isn't the end, brainwash people into believing in themselves, right? Brainwash people into knowing the fact that there's opportunity come, people can go out there and do incredible things. Like when if there's one commonality that you see between every successful entrepreneur that you actually hear from, they will actually tell you that it's 100% mindset, it's 100% mentality. And if you simply are out there and you have the right mentality to be able to go and do incredible things, that's what it's about. Most people, will fall into the fear aspect of things. It will, that will paralyze them, right? For
Yeah.
me, the mere fact of growing up with so much financial uncertainty, it's really what was, kind of like, my driving force to be able to go ahead and always want to go ahead and succeed. In fact, right now, over the last 2-3 weeks that this has happened, I've been more busier than ever. My business has grown by like 25% over the last, over just the last few weeks. And I would tell you the fact that I feel like I'm almost at my natural element. I was actually having a conversation with a family member about this yesterday, where the fact that right now, it's really time to thrive, and you can do incredible things with it if you really just get off the sides, get off of the sitting bench and just go out there and really build a business. There's really a lot of things that we could do out there, especially right now that we have online. In 2008, we didn't really, it was definitely not as big as it is right now. That was, 12 years ago. And I would just tell you that right now, there's just a lot of incredible things that you can do from an entrepreneur's perspective, from if you want to go ahead and just build an online business, from the e-commerce world. People are never going to stop buying. That's one thing that people have to understand, is that people are always going to make time. It will always will always make one thing a priority. What they make a priority, a lot of that is up to you, right? So therefore, what you want to go ahead and do is always, find the best way to bring value to people. And always, one of the things that I always talk about is being able to go ahead and have high trusted relationships, right? That's the number one component that I would tell you, that if anybody's going to be in business, they have to be able to go ahead and do is be able to go ahead and definitely have trust with people. People have to know the fact that they can trust you, they can believe in you, right? That's probably, the number one thing that's essential in business. It's that itself. That's the reason why I got like Warren Buffett, for example, is able to go ahead and make $1 billion, deal with just a simple handshake, right? Because of the fact that, integrity is a huge key of success. And that's, so therefore, as people are starting the business, the number one thing you have to understand to be able to have a successful business is to be a massive value creator, right? Always offer people your help, figure out how to go ahead and actually, help others accomplish their goals. I think it was Brian Tracy that actually said this, where he says, the more people you help, the more money you'll make, something along those lines. But I would actually tell you the fact that, as you're coming into the business, don't just think to yourself, how can I make more money? Think to yourself, what kind of value can I bring the most to people? And the money aspect of things will simply follow itself.
Well, I can't think of anybody who exemplifies that more, because you have been a huge stand in the world for, lifting people up, helping people pass their own obstacles and blockades, and really your generosity knows no bounds. And one of the things that people are experiencing right now is this helplessness, right? That sense
Yep.
of I have no power here. The government's telling me to stay home. I can't get out and do whatever I'm gonna do. I can't. How are we? How do we get out of that mindset and into massive action at a time when it feels like we're stuck at home?
Well, right now, one of the things that you have to do is, being at home is not a bad thing. In fact, I personally think that I've over the last 3-4 days, I have talked to more people that have been more grateful about being home than ever, and especially because of the fact that a lot of these people are like, I've had more